Never been late before. Not gonna start being late ever again. Welcome to the stream, guys. Welcome, welcome, welcome. As you guys know, oh gosh, what's going on? As you guys know, the news topics tend to be the more serious categories for me to talk to you guys about. I'm gonna get my coffee real quick. It'll take me about less than 20 seconds. So, let's get to the intro, and I'll be back. Did I make it? No. My leg looks so dead. God, just hi, John. Hi, your little hamster. Hello, Enigma. Hello, everyone. Hi, Pup Lover. Um, hello, Amy. Hello. Who is this? Air Azrowan. Hi, Azrowan. Welcome to the stream. I will uh be mindful of that. Thank you for letting me know that your mother is around, so I will not cuss. I promise. Some of these topics are like very messed up, and we're gonna go from the least worst to like the worst of the worst. So be mindful. Be mindful. The last one is if you are not comfortable with this category, feel free to leave. But that would be the last episode. And I'm doing three topics today because, well, I haven't done any research on any of these topics, so in case there's any topics that I don't want to include in my video, I'll have a backup. 10 days will be your birthday. Nice. Happy early birthday. Let's go ahead and get directly into the actual video itself and start with it.
He actually YouTube videos are rapidly being stolen on the platform, and YouTube doesn't seem to give a crap. So there's a YouTuber named Legal Eagle who is a very well-known lawyer on the platform, and he's been having so many channels re-uploading his videos in their entirety and getting hundreds of thousands of views. And he actually reached out to YouTube to try to do something about this. As I'm sure a lot of you guys know, as someone who's been in a very similar situation to this, I was eagerly waiting for YouTube's response to Legal Eagle and seeing how they're going to actually handle this. And as usual, YouTube let me down. So Legal Eagle actually reached out to YouTube and was like, hey, this channel and actually all of these channels are just blatantly stealing our videos. Here is the video that they completely stole from us. And the reason he had to reach out to them in the first place is because the people who were stealing his content were doing a very
He's focused on these little ones that are so small. Oh no. I mean, it's still a massive, massive, massive issue that it's still going out there where people are stealing other people's content blatantly without rechanging it. So here's my input on this. I don't mind people taking my content, but don't just take it bluntly without any form of change. Add something to it. And then that becomes a little bit more ethical and more okay because you're modifying to be it your own content and your own value. And that's legally fine. There's nothing wrong with taking content and using it for your own new form of content that you want to do. There's nothing wrong with that. It's called reactions, which fall under fair use, and you're covered legally under that term. But if you're just going to re-upload content, that's very much illegal. Yes, I am Captain Pikachu. Hi, Angry as Hellfish. Hi, Spring. And I'm sorry I missed something in the chat, but this is primarily for me to get directly to the news so I can work on the edits as soon as possible and upload these for you guys tomorrow, John.
clever move of taking his videos but just putting some sort of ambient background, and that would make it so Legal Eagle wasn't able to copyright strike their videos.
See? Yeah. That's all you have to do.
For those of you guys that don't know, YouTube Studio has a copyright section over here where you can see other people who have stolen a lot of your video or the entire video, and you can actually take some action against them. As you can see for myself, what YouTube considers to be infringing videos is listed here, and from here I can click on the videos if I want to and submit a copyright strike takedown or removal. Now, obviously I'm not going to, I'm just using this as an example. So because those imposter channels put some sort of background in the videos that they had stolen from Legal Eagle, it didn't even show up in Legal Eagle's copyright section on his YouTube Studio, so he could not.
Hi, Angel. Hi, Robert. So another thing that a lot of big YouTubers understand, and have accepted is that small content creators like me or well, pretty much anyone will take their videos, but with one massive understanding, fair use has to apply here. The reason that I've never gotten a copyright strike from any of these content creators, and I probably never will, because I add new context to the content, which adds value, and in court you could argue that's fair use. Now, the big massive backlash on that is that it's still their video. I still legally own none of their content. The only content I own would be the content that I'm making right now when I'm speaking. Oh, nice! Congratulations, Spring.
Copyright strike them on his own. He actually had to contact YouTube and be like, yeah, these guys are blatantly stealing my videos. Can we like do something about this or what? These are the options that were given to him. One would be to use the copyright match tool, which again wasn't available to him for those specific videos, or he could email multiple videos that were stolen and basically just contact YouTube and be like, yeah, these are what is stolen. And they said he has to be specific of the videos that were stolen because it's a legal process and it has to be explicit. You can't just say all videos on this channel. So he messaged them and was like, dude, I have the copyright match tool, but because the video filter he used, none of his videos are showing up as matches. I can just send you a list of videos, but all of his videos are offending. And on top of that, he's using my image, name, and trademarks in his channel banners and other branding. So it's not
That's illegal. That's not that's like straight up illegal. Um, and lo- that part is kind of important. If you're starting to use the exact same logo, branding, and information that the content creator made himself in the first place, just to get your name out there, you can get sued by them. Um, don't ever do that. That's very much illegal. So stealing video is one thing, but when you're taking a massive content creator that also happens to know the law, don't. You'll lose.
just his videos, which is true. As he showed and proved, these guys were using his profile pics, they were using his images in their banners and stuff like that. So they were just like basically trying to steal his identity because this stupid little filter that they put, as you can see over here, it didn't actually show up in his copyright match tool section. So he sent them a pretty detailed email saying, yep, these are the channels, these are the videos. Please, can we do something about this? Can we get these videos taken down? And YouTube's response was awful. Hey, at Devin Stone, please provide the below. We require a more detailed description of your copyrighted work. We won't be able to process your request until you have provided us with this information. Dude, he literally signed his name, showed that it was him, showed the videos that they had stolen, put his whole address and everything for his whole legal firm and all that. Like, I mean, he had very clearly proved that he is who he says he is and showed that, yeah, these videos were stolen from me. Can we just do something about this? But no, even though YouTube could just go on that channel that Legal Eagle had showed and
Yeah, Captain Pikachu. Actually, I believe Legal Eagle made a content about this a few days ago. This is just a shorter re-upload by Deep Humor, who I actually love quite a bit. And what Deep Humor talks about is pretty much what's going on in the world and YouTube news. And he does a really good way of shortening the news segments down to the point where they're short enough for us to get through this as quick as possible so I can make a more detailed segment for you guys and upload the recording, which do really well.
just seeing that those videos were stolen. Nope, they require more information somehow. And then YouTube starts off with their usual one-liner. Hey, Devin, we understand how frustrating this can be. In order for this copyright takedown process to work effectively, you will need all of the necessary information upon submission. If you're able to provide your original video URL paired with the infringing URL within the same submissions, that should allow for the copyright experts to act much quicker.
That's actually a fair point. And the copyright experts should know that if they're but here's the thing: if there are copyright experts, they should be able to take the information from the original channel and match it with the other channel that they're matching it with too, not just the video itself, because he's infringing on more than the video itself. They're infringing on his identity, which is a whole identity theft legal case at that point, which is a bigger issue than a copyright case.
Copyright experts, huh? It would take maybe 5 minutes to go on those channels that he showed to see that all those videos are stolen, word for word, letter for letter, and even the channel name, the branding, banner, everything was all stolen from Legal Eagle. So what type of experts do you guys need to be able to resolve this situation? And then Legal Eagle said something that, even though this doesn't involve me, this had my blood boiling. One of the videos that was stolen from Legal Eagle, which was a video about the Epstein files, the impersonator stole the video, uploaded it on their channel, and that video, which is demonetized on Legal Eagle's channel, was monetized on the pirated channel.
Really messed up. Really, really messed up. And the way this works is I don't know exactly why YouTube does this, but sometimes one content creator's channel video will get demonetized while another content creator gets monetized. How YouTube decides to monetize it or demonetize it, well, no one really knows. It's based off AI. Everything that you guys do when you upload, you take a risk that AI will mess it up. So I had one video of mine demonetized and like not valid, not visible for anyone's views, and it was a pan joke about pansexual because a pan and I had a pan in my head, and apparently that was explicit content. But there was no nudity, there was no, vulgar language, there was nothing that would go against the YouTube community guidelines because I know the YouTube community guidelines very, very well. And so, yeah, I had a video that was demonetized and hidden. And so the way I fought back was I argued and won. Basically, the AI messed up. I apologize if I cuss a little bit, but I'll try to keep it down to minimum.
Are you kidding me? They stole his video, word for word, letter for letter, but YouTube monetized their video as opposed to Legal Eagle's video. That is like the biggest piece of horseshit I've ever seen in my life, man. So YouTube did eventually, review the videos and determine that it's a violation of their community guidelines, but not after a bunch of hassle. And Legal Eagle was making jokes that next time if someone steals my videos, I'll expect it to get resolved in 2026. And then he even followed up and said, dude, I just was telling you guys from the start, this person was stealing my identity, including my name, trademark, likeness, and identical content. Why did the copyright team keep asking me for more detail? And keep in mind, I know some of you guys might not be familiar with him, but he is one of the biggest lawyers on YouTube, Legal Eagle, with 3.7 million subscribers. If this was some tiny channel on YouTube like me, where it's hard to verify information, and
He's still part of the YouTube program. So anyone that's above 100K subs are automatically put in YouTube program and prioritized above every single person. That's how it works. You're special. You matter to the YouTube because you're so big and you actually make a massive impact. This is why 100K subscribers get favored in the algorithm more than me, unless you do cool tricks like I do, which I won't say, but it's really cool. Well, the public knowledge of it. I'm not going to share that. I have my tricks. Thank you guys for the likes. I appreciate it.
identity and stuff like that, then I would understand why YouTube would ask for all these details. But this dude is an actual lawyer who makes videos of his face, and people are just stealing his videos. And YouTube is being like, yeah, could you just give us a little bit more detail? We're not really sure. And YouTube then decides that they want to explain why the team needed more information. Our copyright team has to be thorough to make sure we're taking down the right content and follow all legal guidelines. This means they need to gather very specific evidence to confirm that the content is a direct copy and to verify your ownership. The extra details they were asking for were crucial to building a strong case on your behalf, which again is absolutely ridiculous because they are taking his name, his banner, his face, and making it their own channel art and then stealing his videos word for word, letter for letter, and somehow YouTube still needs more details on how the videos are stolen. I mean, what are we even doing here on this platform, man? These are some of Legal Eagle's final remarks about this whole situation and how ridiculous it is, so let's just give this a listen.
Are finally down. I did not have to actually file a lawsuit against YouTube or the offending idiots who started these channels. So I guess someone finally looked at the offending channels for more than half a second and realized that I was telling the truth, that these people were stealing my entire identity and our copyrighted material and trademarks and all of our other IP.
Yeah, that's the biggest issue you can have on a channel. Just imagine me taking what a massive YouTuber worked their life off for the past, 5 to 10 years, and just me taking all the work, all the credit, and me making money off of it. That's very much illegal. Like, you can get fined massive for that. It's not only identity theft, it's fraudulent activity on a massive scale. And you can also destroy that YouTuber's reputation that way if you do it wrong.
So, ironically, after this happened, we found another one. Another one of these impersonator channels is still up, the Law Unlocked, though the name in the YouTube URL is Noah Parsons, not some variation of Nicholas. Feel free to go report that channel as well. I will, I guess, reach out to YouTube and they'll probably take care of it, I don't know, in 2026 or something.
YouTube really needs to do a better job in protecting their creators and making them feel valued on the platform, because someone like Legal Eagle, who pulls in hundreds of thousands of views every video, sometimes millions, they're bringing a lot of value to YouTube. They bring a lot of money to YouTube. And from everything I've seen from this guy, he's a pretty credible person. He does a very well detailed videos that are very well researched and stuff. So trying to drive away a creator where, you know, their videos are being stolen and you're just like, yeah, sorry, buddy, we're going to need a little bit more details.
Now, one thing that will never happen, and I can't even use the word never because it's happened like super, 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 super rare. And I'm like maybe less than 1,000 times historically speaking has happened, which is very, very low amount of people have done this. So where one content creator re-uploads a video and that new content creator that re-uploaded the old video gets more views than the bigger YouTube themselves. It's happened like with, what was it? The whole airplane joke. Some content creator made a video and someone re-uploaded the video and they got more views. And then that content, I only know this because I was in a massive private YouTube community that I can't join anymore. This is my old channel. And they basically, you know, got more views than the bigger content creator and made more profit from that one video. Which is also illegal. This is also illegal. So I did this one time by accident, but the way I did it wasn't technically taking a video. I just got red flagged by YouTube because I made a short and I edited in a vertical view with my top screen up there and the short and the below, and I was commenting on it. And apparently YouTube does not like that, especially when you get 100k plus views in like 24 hours. And the short managed to get over 300k views before YouTube gave me a copyright strike. So 6 months later, I could resume my normal content. This was like 2 years ago. And at that point, I had a professional person who was helping me and getting all this resolved, and he couldn't even get it resolved. He works for these massive YouTube channels that have millions and millions of subs. He's actually a bigger deal than some people expect. And so, yeah, I've been there before by accident, but I didn't inherently just steal the video out bluntly. YouTube gave me a false copyright strike that I could not revoke and retract, and they just messed up. YouTube is nowhere near a perfect system that we would like to believe, and a lot of it is AI driven because realistically speaking, we do not have enough humans to moderate, well, YouTube as a whole. We never will. It's too big of a platform. But they do a better job than Roblox. Oh, let's move on to next content.
Like, I get YouTube has their own process and they have to follow a very specific line of rules, but at the end of the day, man, they're taking everything from this guy, his face, his videos, his script, everything, and they're putting it on.
Okay, let's move on to the next one. He's just repeating what he said overall, which is not a bad tactic to summarize a video, by the way. Yeah, Roblox has been in the... Roblox just needs to, like, fade out, historically speaking. Roblox will forever be known as a... God, don't hate me for this. Please don't hate me. As a supporter for people that go online and do illegal stuff. There. Okay, please don't hate me. You know, because what they did with Slep, they clearly support that route, even though they're trying to, like, you know, deter that shit. Oh, sorry for cussing. But, like, you know, they still technically, if you looked at from like just flat out how they worked around all this, they technically support this. Yeah, the people that are in charge of Rolex need to be replaced. Let's move on to the next content, which is a little bit more deeper. I don't actually know what Nintendo is suing U.S. government for, but yeah, they're suing something for.
Nintendo may be taking on the world, and that may include the U.S. government as its lawfare campaign expands and.
This guy has 365 subs, and the quality looks like from early 2000s. I know video is not all that, and I get this is meant to be the news content, but like, can you put a little bit more effort into your content considering you make like probably 10K plus yearly? More than that, probably. Okay.
Continues. Of course, I'm Andrew Esquire, American attorney, and it's the legal mindset we teach you to be your own judge. So let's get right into it today. So this is a topic that many people have asked me to cover. And they've been asking me to cover this for a very long time because it's something very much ongoing, and it affects not just Nintendo, not just Pokemon and Pal World, but the entire gaming space. And this could affect a genre.
I've never had that happen actually in my entire channel history. Quite literally never happened. So I can't relate. Hey David, welcome to the stream. And then the microphone he's using is like non high end. Even my microphone has more features. But it's a cool microphone. I actually love that Sennheiser microphone. It's really nice. It's quite nice.
This could affect the gaming space, the modding community, and even Nintendo itself. This could be make or break for Nintendo, where they cement an image in the world, in the gaming community, as the villain, as the evil corporation, and really turn things downward for their very own business. But we're going to.
Yeah, I'm assuming this is maybe regarding to pricing or Nintendo suing the government for like. I'm just gonna find out
talk
more.
about this today from both a legal perspective and also from a business perspective, because as I am a corporate attorney, I've seen the inside of these corporations. I know what makes business sense and what doesn't. And indeed, this campaign of lawfare is absolutely suicidal for Nintendo. And of course, this is a fast facts video. So if you want to see the longer version, you want to get all the reactions, all the comments, you went to PP here today. And of course, this is both a Japanese and US thing, because the lawsuits are going on in Japan, but there's US patents involved. And of course, when the US government gets involved, well, that will be a lawsuit in America. So let's talk about this. So first of all, there's an update that Nintendo is now arguing as part of their ongoing lawsuit with Power World that mods don't count as proper games. So what they're.
What? No, they changed the overall perspective of the game content. How do you consider mods as not proper game? Excuse me? Does Nintendo know what the definition of mods are in the first place? Or I feel like they're just what?
attempting to do is have Power World say, hey, you need to shut down every single mod out there of Power World, especially if it would even seem a little bit like Pokemon.
So they actually cannot, to my knowledge, force Power to do that because Power doesn't own those mods. It's not their mods. It's some other partnerships mods that are uploading to Power, and that's not Power's job. So for Nintendo to come in here and step on random mods' job, go after the mods. Don't go after Power and tell them that the people that make the mods for Power have to shut down. Wusses. Thank you, Enigma.
We're going to have you shut that down because Power World is, of course, being accused of being too similar to Pokemon, and therefore, hey, we're going to say you got to shut down everything. Now, mind you, their current lawsuit is over patents. It's actually not a copyright.
Oh, and reminder, there's a new game Nintendo coming out in 2026 that's gonna be identical to Power World. You freaking hypocrites! Look what you guys are doing, copying Power World, you pieces of. Wait, where's my sentry? Did it work? Did it work? Did my sensor work? Oh, oh, you pieces of. Okay. So Nintendo inherently is quite literally hypocritical because what they're doing is doing Power World for exactly what they're now making the game that is based off, well, Power World 2026 or 2027 when it was coming out.
Lawsuit, but they're attempting to expand it further. And you can see that, of course, people are coming out with mods and spin-off games right now. You see Pal Farm here, which is a Pal World spin-off game, enjoying a farming life with mysterious creatures known as pals. Team up with them and grow your farm at your own pace in this brand new creature collecting farming sim, fully playable and multiplayer. So this is them, hey, kind of spinning off of Pal World. Well, guess what? This is exactly the type of thing Nintendo hates. And what Nintendo is missing out here is that both Pal World and all these mods like Pal Farm are things that actually help Nintendo, help the company, and help everybody, but only.
Yeah, and you know why it helps them? Because it's so similar to Pokemon that it gets Pokemon bigger and people want to play Pokemon. So I don't get it from a business bloody aspect as to why Nintendo is suing Power World, which, to be frank, has more players, historically speaking, in one day than Nintendo's ever had on any Pokemon app. But again, that's helping Nintendo in terms of promoting their own, like, Pokemon.
Because they're operating from this scarcity mindset, which drives them into this insane lawfare. Are they dragging themselves down here? And we're going to see kind of some of the legal consequences here. So let's talk about the legal battles of Nintendo. And there's various ones that are ongoing here. First, and this is the biggest thing that bothers me, is that this battle over mods, really the decision whether or not to mod rests with a game owner and their end user license agreement, their ULA. So
Yeah, if they allow it, which majority of game owners make game companies allow. So
if Power World wants to decide to allow mods, that's Power World's decision. That should not be Nintendo's decision. So
yeah, see, that's also a point. It's not for Nintendo to decide whether Power can and can't have mods. That's not their choice to make.
big issue with this precedent is if Nintendo wins this precedent, then any game which looks at another game and says, hey, this looks sort of similar to me, or hey, I made some last minute patent, and we're going to talk about the sneaky patent troll level BS that Nintendo is pulling. Any company could come out, file a last minute patent, and stop mods. This would kill the modding community. This would allow big corporations, big corpos to nuke mods across the board. And this is an absolute travesty because mods are sometimes the most beloved parts of the game. In fact, many times big companies look at the mods and they find which mod is most successful and they make a game based on the mod, or they make official support for that.
So they actually did that with Skyrim, and when they released the Skyrim Special Edition, they used a lot of the exact same mods that the modding community did. Exact the same mods, and that's why Skyrim Edition, there's no Special Edition, looks exactly the same as some of the mods that are out there, and you put on Skyrim. There's no identical difference. Look at Skyrim, and you add enough mods to make it similar to Skyrim Special Edition. Bam. And the reason Bethesda did that was because it was more successful. And so Bethesda decided to make a Skyrim Special Edition, which fixes everything about Skyrim. Thanks to the mod community. If it wasn't for the mod community, Bethesda would never have done it.
Mod, right? Look at Dota, right? Dota became a thing, right? And that's, once again, goes all the way back to being a mod. But a lot of these gaming companies have forgotten their roots. They've forgotten where things come from. And
Hi, zombie. How you doing?
they're just trying to win through little legal persnickety tactics, which just make them seem petty and ultimately push them deeper and deeper into the villain role. And the biggest thing that happened here that really caught my eye was last month, Nintendo snuck in a new patent, a
Hi, Minecraft man. Um, and I'm doing great, John. I'm doing great. I went out to eat today in my fursuit. That will be a video out in 2 days. Tomorrow I'll be uploading a live stream edit of one of my videos. So expect something to happen about that. Oh, my camera tracking stopped. Oh yes, well track me please. Oh, that's so nice. I have camera tracking. Okay, forgot about that.
US patent about summoning a sub character to fight. So essentially, what this does is say anytime that there's any game where there's a sub character, that meaning, the main character. Now, initial analysis by patent attorneys, and once again, that's not my area of specialty. I'm more of a generalist. Initial analysis has said, yeah, well, it's technically legal, but they really don't want a judge to look at it. If a judge looked at this, they might say, hold on there, especially in the United States, hold on there. What you're trying to do is control the entire pocket monster genre, or even pocket character or sub character genre. You really can't do that. You can't do that in America. You can't say, hey, no, we own the entire genre. You can't do anything in this entire genre. That's not allowed. Think about superheroes saying, hey, you can't make a superhero genre, or you can't make a monster genre, or whatever else, right? A horror genre, dinosaur genre, right? How far are we going to let these corporations go and just monopolizing genres? It doesn't make sense, and it stifles creativity. It's absolutely horrible for everybody. Nobody wins here, and the corporation just looks horrible. Now, what the reality is, and once again, I tell you guys a legal reality, whether the facts meet your feelings or not. And I hope that people who both are pro Nintendo and anti Nintendo can listen to this. But Japanese courts are likely to favor Nintendo. And now that's both based on the power and structure of Nintendo in Japan, their influence, etc. But the other thing that is really important to note, especially with the US patents, is if any of those patents in the US are challenged, US courts might not look so favorably on Nintendo. So under US law, they might be in some trouble. And that's where Nintendo is probably sweating right now. Because if someone with deep enough pockets came at them and really came at them hard and really pressed them, they might be in some big trouble. So I want to get into a situation with America. In fact, it got brought up today by ICE in the Department of Homeland Security, which dropped a very spicy video. And I'm wondering whether there's some base Chad in the social media department at DHS who's just sitting there. He's a gamer, and he's like, hey, you know what's trending right now? Nintendo being an asshole.
That's not the first time. They're price monopolizing in terms of the games. They're doing price hikes basically for no reason, because they have, the biggest pockets to do so. And they're locking certain things down with Nintendo Switch, where they're controlling the USB being limited by their own devices. And I watched a video on this recently from Lions Tech Tips. It was a video on that, and where it wasn't even based off the USB not being able to do it. It's just they lock certain functionalities of the USB cable down to their own software, which is salty. So Nintendo is not going in the direction where it's pro consumers anymore. Nintendo is going in the direction where it's trying to make the most money. It's like, F you, consumers. We don't care about the consumers anymore. And the reality is, they don't. They've been suing and taking down content creators on YouTube. They've been suing game developers. They've been suing all sorts of other people regarding to them using their own games. And what's all that done in the end? Help Nintendo outgrow more. One of the big things I keep on arguing, and I never understood why. Oh, shut up with the Discord. Not right now. Hold on, let me shut down Discord because I don't want to deal with this. And one of the things I never quite understood why this happens was content creators using a source of the game or music for them to promote. It's essentially promoting business for the company or whoever. It's just like when you use my content or any other channel's contents and you do it in the right way, you can help those channels grow. It's a positive thing. So why are businesses hating that? Why is that bad?
So let's troll them and let's absolutely poke Nintendo, because if anybody can go after Nintendo, it is the U.S. government. Once again, Nintendo has a lot of money, but the U.S. government could just print money. I mean, they just print money, and what makes it even worse is most Japanese debt. If you don't know this, they tend to have a lot of it denominated in U.S. dollars. So as the U.S. prints, that just hurts the Japanese side. So Nintendo.
But it also hurts the currency of the US asset value of the $1, meaning it's becoming more and more worthless every time they print more and more money, more they have that we don't have actually. And so it essentially becomes fake currency in the end. Useless. One of these days, maybe not anywhere in my lifetime, but within someone's lifetime, the US dollar will be completely worthless because of what US government is doing.
To borrow would probably just end up benefiting the U.S. government, which just would fuel the lawsuit. So it's absolutely a glorious situation. It's kind of a funny white pill. But anyways, you can see the DHS in this gotta catch 'em all ICE video referencing the ICE roundups, used the kind of trademark lettering of Pokemon. You can see them here rounding up people. They use clips from Pokemon, Pokeballs, Ash Ketchum, etc.
Yeah, you can vent here, EEO. EO. Go, feel free to vent.
Right, to the tune of gotta catch 'em all. So this is something that, hey, if Nintendo was going to come at them and Nintendo was going to say, hey, we're litigious, we have to sue everybody, we have to do everything. Well, Nintendo, if you want to play that game, if you want to be a big boy and sue everybody, let's see you sue the United States. Please, dear YouTube overlords, dear Nintendo, please do that. You will print me so much money covering this case. Please do that. As a grifter lawyer here on YouTube, I would love that. And I say it as a term of endearment, right? Of course, I'm joking. That would be horrible for Nintendo. That would be.
Yeah, so yes, while Nintendo is one of the biggest game companies in the world to this date, hi, I love Lucky. It's not bigger than the entire U.S. government. Don't try to compete with a whole country. You'll lose. That's the stupidest thing you could possibly do. Same thing with Roblox. You know, Roblox is being sued by a whole bunch of parts of the United States. So yeah, and it's not ending up pretty.
Absolutely disaster for them. But what was also funny is they not just copied the theme, but they even went to Pokemon cards. So even the Pokemon cards and all that related to them, they kind of, made those out. And whoever did this, the Pokemon card element of this video was like 3 seconds, but
Is this a thing? What the fuck?
they put thought and detail into this, like type illegal HP1, right? They got their crime here, they got their history, and then the best thing that made me really laugh was weakness to ice. Weakness to ice. That's absolutely hilarious. And of course, they all died to a shed ninja. Isn't it sad when you all died to a shed ninja? But anyways, let's look at this.
I love how he did the Pokemon reference. So funny.
Fair use. So let's say, hey, if Nintendo's going to come at the U.S. government, what would happen? What are the fair use factors? And this applies to a lot of other cases as well. You can use this just broadly, especially for copyright, etc. Well, there's really 4 things. Purpose.
This is actually 5, but it might have been condensed down to 4. It's called the 5 pillars, but he might have condensed it down to 4.
And character of the use. Is it commercial, non-commercial? Is it research, educational, governmental? The nature, is it factual or creative? The amount and substantiality of the work used. So if we're talking about the Ethan Klein lawsuits, right? If you just watch all of his content, that's all of it. That's really one of Ethan's stronger arguments in his lawsuits against Casey Tron, Denims, and the Orbiters, and Discord and Reddit. But they just use some clips, right? So that's a much different story. And then last is the effect on the market. So are you a market competitor? Are you a market competitor to Pokemon? So let's look at that compared to the U.S. government. Let's pretend in a magical world, pretend world.
Yeah, see, 5.
where Pokemon and Nintendo sue
Oh, 4. But there's actually 5 pillars, not
the
4.
US government. This is not going to go well for them because the purpose and character they use is governmental. It's nonprofit. They're not making a game. They're just trolling. They're just making a meme, right? What's the nature? It's a creative parody. So it's something that typically is protected, not something that typically they would rule in favor of Nintendo.
Yeah, that's the thing with this. So Nintendo would lose that argument. They would also lose the purpose and character use.
What's the amount? They only use little clips of the pieces. They use the theme song, but it's mostly government footage of government, officers arresting people, which Nintendo doesn't own. And what's the effect on the market? Not at all.
So if Nintendo's coming after this clip, they would lose. So big, it wouldn't even matter. They wouldn't need a court case. Oh, nice. Have fun in El Salvador. Mario didn't deserve no more games with Sonic. uh, Life is too overwhelming. It hurts whenever I walk, whenever I breathe. Roblox drama equals hurting. Everything equals hurting. The only thing that I like now are worms, swinging, sand, and yogurt. Peas and what? YouTube shorts? Help me. Maybe stay off Roblox. Get off the internet for a while. So that's the stuff dies down. That's my solution. You'd be surprised what happens when you get away on a line for a while. I'm not saying get away from the internet as a whole, but what I am saying maybe is just like get away from the drama part of the internet and focus on the positive community side. So like me or any of your friends you have in Discord or anyone you chat with, that's might be helpful.
Government is not in the pocket monster genre. The government is not, selling games. The government is not selling Game Boys and stuff like that. So all these factors would go in favor of the US government. So they would just lose that fight. But what I want to talk about today in the business suicide, and this is part of the deeper
That's an old movie. Holy crap.
thought here that I hope you guys can appreciate as people of culture, is that there is an ability to profit even if something is similar. And this is kind of the double effect. It's kind of the Hollywood double effect, or some people actually call this the Armageddon deep impact effect. Now, I know some of you Gen Z people may not know this, so stick with me. Back in the day of movies, when movies were good, when Hollywood did things, right? Think way back. You were probably a wee one if you're a younger person, but I remember this. They would put out similarly themed movies. So they're both about an asteroid that would end the Earth. And what this would do is, instead of hurting, because people might think if you're living in a scarcity mindset, thinking, oh my gosh, there's only so much money. We got to get that money. We got to knock out our competitor. You might think, wow, why didn't Armageddon sue Deep Impact? Right? Why didn't they knock them out of there? Well, number one, you can't take over a whole genre, right? And number two, the movies actually generated more money because both of them came out around the same time. Why did that happen? Let's talk about the double effect. So this is
Which is valuable. It's helpful for both of the corporations to do that, or the movie companies, whoever did these two movies. It's very, very helpful. And so, as again, I never will get the concept of why one company is trying to sue another when that company or that individual may end up helping them generate more money, profit, revenue, margin increase, which is a positive thing. Oh.
a proven market strategy that boosts both products. There's shared hype, right? So people get excited for both. They get excited for, hey, I love space, I love these movies, and it creates a cultural
That's actually a very I've never looked at Power as older, mature audience, but yeah, it's meant for 13 plus. And Pokemon is wow, never looked at it that way.
conversation. People start talking about space, start talking about asteroids, start talking about, well, what if this happened? What would you do? Right? It's like the zombie genre. People started talking about, well, if zombies attacked, what would you do? Would you survive? What would you do? What's your tactic for zombies? Right? And it just takes over your thoughts. Beyond that, there's strategic differentiation. So let's talk about Pokemon and Power World. So with Pokemon is intended for younger audiences. Now, I know I say intended because that said, and I'm looking at all of you guys out there, and listen, I don't care how much Tylenol you've taken. I'm not going to judge you, right? No judgment here in the legal mindset. Uh, yes, I know older people play Pokemon. I know a lot of adults that play Pokemon. I'm not judging you for that. Listen, I may or may not.
No, but historically speaking, when Pokemon first came out, it was targeted towards younger audience. The only reason people play Pokemon now is because they grew up with it, and yeah, those younger kids still play Pokemon because they love it.
I cannot disclose whether I have emulators on my computer, okay? And I cannot disclose whether I played Pokemon Ultraviolet. That's something I'm not going to disclose on the internet.
You just disclosed it by bringing it up, so make sure you don't bring that up. I don't know why you bring that up so random.
But that said, you can say, okay, Pokemon is intended for younger audiences. Power World is mature. Power World has guns. Power World perhaps tackles the topic of slavery, right? There's these more mature topics and more refined taste, you might say, for Power World. It's not necessarily a one for one. And beyond that, what it does is it boosts the genre, increase visibility. People are talking about pocket monsters, right? Pocket Monsters becomes cool again. It becomes a thing because everyone's making these games. And lastly, there can be cultural references. Content creators can argue forever. I remember getting on podcasts and talking about, hey, which is better, this or that, like with zombie movies, which is better, right? With fantasy, which is better, right? You know, A Wheel of Time, Lord of the
So I think the way the Power implemented the gaming content is actually completely revolutionary to what Nintendo has ever done in terms of any game that Nintendo's made with Pokemon. And I'm pretty sure I would put money on this. Nintendo's pissed off that Power technically did better in sales in a month than they did with some of their other games. Um, what the hell? Autocorrect be tripping? What? Um, but that's probably one of the small reasons Nintendo went to sue Power, because they're butthurt that Power outperformed one of the biggest games out there, and Power came up with it before Nintendo did. So we gotta keep that in mind. Nintendo is butthurt about this, and they're just going after Power because they're angry little children.
Rings, etc. Like you can argue and nerd out over these things, and that's good for both of the properties. It's good for everybody. You do not need to knock everybody out. So my kind of preaching to Nintendo here, it's sort of the choose the path of good, right? I've been on this kind of thing here for a lot of a lot of different reasons, but choose the path of good, Nintendo. You still can get people to like you, but you have to decide which character you want to be, right? Do you want to be Bowser? Do you want to be evil, or do you want to be Mario, right? And I'm okay if you're Donkey Kong, right? I'm okay if you're out there wrecking stuff. Even Peach, because actually she's probably like a little bit chaotic bad. I don't know. Peach, I may have to demote her. But once again, you can be Donkey Kong. You can still wreck stuff. You can still be a little wild, but you don't want to be evil. You don't want to be in the Bowser Goomba, territory and be known as a bad company. And I want a world in which good games are made and Nintendo makes good games. If Nintendo goes back to just focusing on the games instead of suing everybody and realizing that they themselves will profit.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they're doing this because they're scared they're not going to profit, if these other games are going to affect Nintendo overall, because realistically it won't. And keep this in mind, guys. You gotta keep this in mind. This is a big one. They're different goddamn platforms. One is on PC, and one is on the Switch, and different consoles. So, in order to play those games, you have to inherently buy one system or another. You can't just buy a PC and play Nintendo games all you want until they release it illegally. Someone makes a clone, and then Nintendo can sue them for that, because that is very much illegal, pirating. So yes, Nintendo will always make a profit of these games. Maybe not as much, but like, hey, that's no one can control that one.
They lay off the gas, they become the good guy, they focus on their content, and they can even collaborate with other companies that are in the similar genre and work together. How about a Pocket Monster convention, right? You could do so much with that. if you choose to work together and focus on what businesses should be doing, which is making money instead of engaging in lawfare. I don't know what you guys think in the comments below, and I will catch you on the next.
Pretty good. Now, heads up, this last content is very, very serious. And if you are a minor and you do not want to be part of my live stream, now's your chance to ditch out. I'm giving you guys a warning for legal reasons, so your parents don't come after me. This is a non-PG topic, non-PG 13, so it's, you know, giving you a warning, but we'll just be talking about this briefly. So let's get into the Michigan got bold move. House bills to ban all X content and gender expression content in Michigan.
Watching this this whole debate around content regulation, age checks, parental. Watching this.
That's how you start. What? Oh my god.
This whole debate around content regulation, age checks, parental controls.
Right, the usual stuff.
But what happens when a state just throws all that out and says, nope, we're going for a complete, total digital ban?
What happens is you get something like Michigan House Bill 4938. Its official title is the Anti-Corruption of Public Morals Act.
Cheesy.
Isn't it? And you're spot on. This bill, brought forward by Representative Josh Shriver and 5 co-sponsors back on September 11th, 2025.
So here's the thing with this bill. Here's the thing. And this is the glorious part of the internet. Just want to point this very obvious thing. Yes, there may be a bill coming out for this. Will it work? No. Because the internet is going to be remaining free and there are ways around this, and no matter how you look at it, just like there are websites that allow you to watch any movie for free, there are. I have several of them. Not going to give you guys a link. There are ways to bypass that. So, while there may be a bill, what you can do about it? Be whiny little dumb and off. Yeah, it's not gonna work. You can try, but unless it's a felony or some messed up illegal going online, that's a different story. But just to ban overall all these websites that express stuff that you guys don't like, that you grew up with, that you guys yourself have looked at, fucking morons. Alright, that's my spiel. But this isn't gonna work. Just thought I'd tell you that.
It's not about checking IDs at all.
So what's our mission today, then? What are we unpacking here?
Our mission really is to get clear on just how incredibly broad this proposed law is.
Okay.
We need to look at the why behind it, according to its supporters, and then really dig into the massive constitutional problems that, pretty much everyone expects it to face.
Yeah, that phrase total ban, that's the real kicker, isn't it? Because like you said, other states, they've focused on age verification for adult content. This Michigan bill, it just wipes the slate clean and says nobody gets access.
Exactly. It shifts the entire conversation from how do we manage access to how do we prohibit everything for everyone.
Which, legally speaking, is ambitious.
Ambitious is one word for it.
Yeah, and it won't happen. You have one state that's going to be trying to do this and probably end up failing in their own bloody state. Their own state is going to fail at this.
Audacious might be another. It's what makes it such a fascinating legal case study, even if it never becomes law.
Okay, let's start with the basics. Scope.
When I'm done with chores, should I hop on to Super Smash Bros. And play as Sonic and beat Mario's bum? Oh, yes, go play as Sonic. That'd be fun. They tried to take away my best friend from kindergarten. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Don't know what that's about, but I'm sorry that happened.
Exactly is HB 4938 trying to label as prohibited material?
Well, the net they're casting is just incredibly wide.
Yeah.
The definition of pornography in the bill covers basically any depiction of sexual acts. Any. Real animated written descriptions, even auditory content. So think traditional video, sure, but also written erotica, manga, AI generated stuff.
You want to so so they want to basically get rid of every single possible website for explicit material. Look, that is that's this is a big not ever gonna happen. Take the entire world organization, take the internet providers, every single one, combine them in one group, maybe that will happen. But one bloody state doing this, no. There are so many websites, so many websites that I'm sure they don't even know about. Okay, I don't even know about. But there's too many websites. And manga? You want to ban manga or text? Text? Oh, come on. How are you going to go through the entire internet and just search for like that when people can just like hide certain words and filters and modify it and like bypasses or use VPNs? Like, how are you going to do this? Just slap in a bill and say we want to ban every single explicit material. That's talk about broad, more like impossible.
The bill even specifically calls out things like erotic ASMR audio.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So are there any exceptions?
Very few. Really only for narrow scientific, medical, or academic purposes. So if you're not like teaching anatomy with it, that's probably on the chopping block.
Right.
What? Who? You know what? This is so stupid.
Right. So the net catches basically everything from, I don't know, classic literature with explicit scenes to just audio files. But the proponents, Rep. Shriver and the others, they argue this is crucial for protecting kids and, quote, societal morality.
That's the framing, yes.
But don't
Societal morality? That's not your job to decide societal morality. Is that even a terminology? Is that even a bloody word? Societal morality, to decide what's best for society. You think as one small goddamn government, you have control over what you think is morally right for your society? Isn't that on the hinge of being a little bit dictator level when you're telling the society you can't do this and you're trying to ban this content because you think personally you have the power and you know better what's for society than society itself? What? Oh, God, humanity is stupid.
we already have really strong laws against child exploitation material? Does this bill actually fill a legal gap, or is it more about making a statement?
It's definitely framed by proponents as a moral stand. They talk a lot about perceived harm to youth, citing stats like, over 90% of kids under 18 having seen porn, and they're very open that part of the goal is to push back against explicit content and gender transitions.
Right.
So it seems less focused on plugging existing legal holes and much more on, well, halting what they see as a slide in public morals.
And that brings us neatly to the other part of this bill, which is just as controversial, maybe even more so in some ways. It's not just about sex.
No, it isn't. And this second target really makes the bill stand out. It also
Hope they realize that not everyone is perfect. No one here is perfect. We all have our sins and our deeds that we've done in life, and that's fine. But as long as we don't cross the boundaries to doing like highly illegal stuff that can get us put in jail or on the weird list, who cares? What we do in our private time is our private time.
goes after content showing, and this is the bill's language, a disconnection between biology and gender.
Okay, break that down. What does that mean in practice?
It means the bill directly targets depictions of transgender people or gender nonconformity more broadly. And the really critical part, this
So you're targeting, get me correct, you're targeting not just like the morals of society. You're targeting specifically gender people that are trying to transition from one gender to another. Or I'm sorry, whoever the fuck this person is, this Michigan GOP, whatever your bullshit is, you need to be put on a chopping block and like erased from society. You are a terrible influence on humanity. Terrible.
applies even if the content isn't sexual at all.
So, like, just a photo of a trans person or an article advocating for trans rights.
Potentially, yes.
That's fucked up. That's so fucked up on so many. You know, I'm sorry, I'm not meaning to cuss, but this is so messed up on so many levels that is like a you to the world saying, "Oh yeah, this one person, Michigan's GOP, whoever government hates transgender that much, they're willing to go this far." Keep in mind, this will not pass even in their own bloody state. Everyone's just gonna move away from Michigan because Michigan is a state that the government where government is starting hate on transgender people. Well, fuck you, Michigan. I'm definitely editing all this out, guys. Like when I make this video, all of this will be edited out. I thought of this ahead of time. Okay.
Yeah.
Based on the wording, things like a personal photo, advocacy literature, maybe even, educational resources about gender identity could fall under this ban. It seems to equate transgender identity itself with something that, quote, corrupts public morals.
That's quite a leap. Okay, so the moral framing is clear from their side.
Belly pokes, yes! Yeah, I may not include this because I get too enraged in this. If I do include this in my episode, when I do this like 10-15 minute edit, there's gonna be a lot of it edited out. So I'm also glad I did this at the last one, so people don't watch this part as much. Don't watch this, guys. Don't watch this part. It's so bad. The Michigan GOP hates us. He hates humanity as a whole. Well, transgender people, I should say.
But let's talk about the real world impact. If
Yeah.
this somehow became law, what happens to someone who violates it? The penalties, I hear, they're intense.
Intense doesn't even cover it.
Yeah.
They're honestly shocking. A violation isn't a slap on the wrist, it's a felony.
A felon.
What felony? Fuck, let me just start committing felony then. Oh, I don't give a shit if it's a felony. I will commit. I will break this law. Just to say fuck you to this law. That is the stupidest thing.
Okay.
The standard penalty could be up to 20 years in prison.
What? Oh, are you kidding me? Oh God, that's just as bad as like looking at illegal content on websites, like felony level content. That's just as bad. That's what they're putting at. They're comparing that content to like legal content. What? Oh God, no! Just some random person. Do something with this guy. I'm not saying what, but you get my gist. Some random person out there in the world. Something needs to be done about this crazy nutjob guy. A felony for looking at legalized content that we are allowed to look at.
That jumps to 25 years for what they call aggravated cases.
25 years. For possessing maybe an animation or a short story, that's what the bill proposes. And on top of that, massive fines up to $100,000 or even $125,000.
You know what? If I'm ever charged with this, I'm going to like.
And maybe the most life-altering part for some.
Just like that's it. What? Why? You're charged with a a possession of legalized content, and you can be charged $120,000 and 25 years of looking at legal content that's available for the rest of the world. Fuck United States at that point if that ever passes. I'm sorry, but see, now I want to go back to my country. What that is on the extreme senses and a law I would totally break. Totally break just to say fuck you to the government.
Offenders could be required to register as sex offenders.
What? No, you. What? How does this fall under sex offender category for? Can we have a look at like the legal definition of sex offenders? This is extreme. If we're looking at content, they're redefining legal terms that have been legal terms for like decades. Decades. Oh god, I never thought I'd get this enraged, but this is a whole. This will never pass. I'm not worried about this passing. Like, this is extremely as hell. Like, this is beyond, like. This is like North Korea level. This is dictator level at this point. The Michigan Gop, whatever his name is a freaking nutcase. God, man. All of this will be edited out. Like, this is like, I'm just raging at this point. Just pure raging. For a good reason, because this guy's a nut job. Hey, Amy, how's your day? I hope you guys are okay with me raging because, like, they're taking, like, what is it considered illegal content, like, felony level illegal content, possession of illegal content, versus possession of legal content that people are allowed to have, and doing the exact same charges for illegal content as legal content. You can't just do that because now there's no law between those two split points.
Wow. Okay. That level of penalty, it feels designed to create absolute fear. But even setting aside the penalties for a second, how on earth could Michigan actually enforce a ban like this?
They can't. They legally can't. No one would go with this.
We're talking about the internet. Content crosses state lines, global lines.
Right. Enforcement is a huge question mark. And their proposed solution is, well, it involves trying to create a sort of state-controlled internet, which obviously opens up a whole new
Okay, just get the fuck out of Michigan then. Problem solved.
can of worms.
How? What are the mechanisms?
There are two main parts. First, they'd require internet service providers, ISPs, Comcast, AT&T, the companies giving you internet access to actively block websites hosting any of this prohibited content.
Okay, that sounds like a massive technical nightmare for the ISPs.
Which is not going to happen. There's so many websites that even the ISPs can't keep track of every single one. I'm sure the ISPs don't even know every single website out there themselves. That's it. That's crazy.
What's the second part? I heard it targets ways people might try to get around those blocks. Exactly. The bill explicitly bans the use or sale of VPNs, virtual private networks proxies, or basically any tool that someone might use to bypass the state's content filters.
Where's Sana at? I'm not quite sure. He might be at band camp or something, band practice.
Whoa, okay. Banning VPNs. That's huge.
It is. It moves beyond regulating the content itself and starts trying to control the actual.
Oh, thank you so much, Electro. Thank you so much. I'm just like, I'm just venting because this is like, this whole concept of going from illegal content, arresting people for like PDFs, that's fair. That's a legal reason to arrest people, PDFs. But arresting people for non-PDF content looking at legal content that is on public domain so anyone can look, and making a murky water between that versus content that's very much illegal and has been illegal for decades, and now we're mixing those two to be the exact same consequences and worse. That's why I'm venting. Because they're mixing two different categories. One is illegal and one is legal. And now this government, this fucked up Michigan GOP person, whoever the fuck this is mixing murky water between legal content versus illegal content and saying, oh yeah, they're not all legal. And by the way, we hate transgenders. Yeah, and why? I don't get the mentality. And this is not just about like him. I don't get the mentality and how people make decisions without thinking clearly that it's not going to work. My own fucking restaurant, how they do certain shit, the cooks end up being right 90% of the time, and guess what, the company goes back to the way that the cooks were right initially because they don't know jack shit about the cooking. It's the same thing with this, where they make decisions without thinking about the consequences and being like, oh yeah, this is a good idea, let's just roll with this. This is the exact same thing, and I'm not worried about this not being passed, because if this ever passes, humanity as a whole, of the United States.
Tools people use to access the internet privately and securely.
And the moment you start banning tools like VPNs, tools people use for privacy, for secure work connections, for everything, you crash headlong into the Constitution, right? The First Amendment, Fourth Amendment.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're challenging the United States Constitution, which has been there longer than you've existed. You can't just challenge the United States Constitution and be like, oh, yeah, this is okay. That's another big thing.
Absolutely. This is where the legal flashing red lights really start going off.
So let's talk about those constitutional headaches. What are the biggest legal challenges facing HB 4938?
The free speech problems under the First Amendment are just enormous, primarily because the definitions are so incredibly broad, what lawyers call overbreadth.
Meaning it bans too much.
Way too much.
It bans everything. And not to mention the crimes are on par of PDFs. They're exactly the same, if not worse. I haven't looked at the crimes for those, but like, I know they're up there. And the thing is, you'd have to register as a sex offender for watching legal content? I'm definitely breaking this law. Fuck what the government says. Totally breaking. If this ever was a law, fuck you, government. Fuck the whole country for that matter. I support every single one of you guys breaking this law. You can quote me on that.
The First Amendment protects a vast amount of adult consensual content, including things that would definitely get caught in this net, like literature, art, manga, even political advocacy related to gender.
There we go. You're going to fight that part that's protected by the First Amendment?
Legal experts are basically unanimous in predicting immediate court challenges.
And the form of art is not necessarily defined what type of art. Art in general is art. Whether it's the act of doing it and making a video about, which is technically an art form. It is an art form. And so, yeah, that's protected. Boom. You just lost your entire argument for making this a bloody bill on the First Amendment art form that destroys everything.
Are there specific past cases that give us a clue how courts might react? You hear about things like the Communications Decency Act back in the 90s.
Yeah, the CDA is a classic example. It was struck down by the Supreme Court precisely because it was too broad and restricted constitutionally protected speech, along with the unprotected stuff.
So the lesson there for you listening is basically that courts tend to throw out laws that use a sledgehammer when maybe a scalpel is needed. If it sweeps up too much protected speech, the whole law can fail.
And that's a big one. And that's the big reason that this won't succeed. You can't just ban the entire internet on every single category regarding to the art form or the context of what they're trying to do. It will never happen. Unless you're a dictator country, then sure, go for it.
That's a good way to put it. HB 4938, by trying to ban everything from, AI images to potentially political websites under one felony law, it looks like a textbook case of overbreadth.
Okay, let's circle back to that VPN ban specifically. That seems to be drawing comparisons to, like, China's Great Firewall. Now, that's obviously loaded language.
It is, yeah.
But setting aside the hyperbole, what is it about banning VPNs that earns that kind of comparison? Is it just the sheer level of control the state is trying to exert?
Well, from what I know, YouTube is trying to do the same thing with VPNs regarding to ad blockers, and work a way around. It's currently not working. Ban VPNs as a whole is very complicated because there's multiple VPN companies, and I'm currently using a VPN-ish to bypass these ads. And, I've been doing it for years.
It really is about the attempt at total access control. The state isn't just saying this content is bad. It's saying you cannot use the standard tools that exist to protect your privacy.
The content that I'm looking at right now is regarding to this fucked up Michigan government, whoever the fuck this person is trying to ban all X content and gender expression content, which is not going to pass. I said that in the very beginning, and yeah.
Insecurity online.
Because people use VPNs for totally legitimate things.
All the time. Remote work connections, secure online banking, protecting your data on public Wi-Fi, accessing global news. Banning these tools doesn't just stop people from accessing banned content. It fundamentally undermines digital privacy and security for everyone in the state.
And that's the thing. So you can't just inherently ban VPNs as a whole. Now, what you can do is limit. You can control what VPNs can allow access content to and not. You can legally do that, and it's been done before. But banning VPNs as a whole, it would be terrible. So yeah. Governments use VPNs. How are you going to bypass that? Are you just going to start letting government officials use VPNs and the citizens not, and just go about that route? Or there's too many questions with so little answers that this bill itself, if I looked at it, probably would not even be able to touch upon the answers that we're looking for, or the questions.
That level of control over access tools is characteristic of censorship regimes.
And looking at the other prong, the anti-trans language, the legal issue there seems less about classic obscenity law and more
Censorship regimes meaning that they are communist or dictator countries.
about the government picking sides, right? What they call viewpoint discrimination.
That's absolutely a critical legal weakness there. The phrasing targeting content about a disconnection between biology and gender looks very much like it's aimed at silencing a specific viewpoint, the viewpoint that gender identity can differ from sex assigned at birth.
So it could criminalize advocacy or just personal expression the state doesn't like.
Precisely. Plus, the bill relies on really vague terms like corrupts public morals. Who decides what that means? It creates a huge risk of arbitrary or discriminatory enforcement, potentially targeting specific groups or ideas based on subjective judgments.
Okay.
So here's my thought process about this. The video is almost over. While this is a very shock value video, and yes, I got pissed off. The reality is, because this bill is so broad, we all clearly know it won't pass. None of this will pass. You can't just ban VPNs entirely. You can't just, make the same illegal content in terms of the same penal punishments as legal content. You can't legally do that because there'd be no justice system in the end regarding to that value. What justifies it as legal and not legal at that point? It'd be blurry. And that's not how the justice system works. And then you can't just start banning the entirety of the internet for all these explicit contents just because this one person doesn't like it. What I think is happening is they're making these bills that are non-passable just to start thinking about the more ways we can do secure stuff and like maybe add more laws in the future. This could be some part of these, it may not be to this extreme, may end up being laws in the future, however late, just so they can have something to say, oh yeah, we thought of this idea years ago and we can start like maybe tackling this small part where we have like banning of certain websites instead of VPNs, or having VPNs limited to certain website, which is fine, nothing wrong with that. But yeah, so it may be a workaway around for them for future laws to be enacted. But as currently right now, this is not going to be passed because they're just going broad statement and focusing on like every single part that is explicit and messed up.
So we have massive constitutional question marks, huge technical hurdles for ISPs trying to block content without messing everything up. What's the actual political reality here? Does this bill stand any real chance of becoming law in Michigan?
Politically, the odds seem very, very low right now. Michigan currently has a Democratic-controlled Senate, and the governor, Gretchen Whitmer, is also a Democrat.
And they're not
Whether you have a Democrat controlled Senate or not, that has nothing to do with how a law is passed. If a law is too broad where it does not make any like sense, no one will pass this law. You have to have some sort of a consensus where there are boundaries. And if you make a law where there's no boundaries, then it's not a law in the first place. It's a dictatorial act where people are just allowed to just start passing whatever they want when they feel like it, just because they don't like that content or the political view on it. That, yeah.
likely to support this.
Highly unlikely. Governor Whitmer has generally signaled opposition to bills she sees as unconstitutional or discriminatory, and leading Democrats in the legislature have already come out strongly against this proposal.
Okay, so probably dead on arrival politically. But the bill itself, just introducing it, seems to have stirred up a major reaction online.
Oh, absolutely. The public and online response was immediate and pretty furious.
Yeah, as it should be. And I think, like I said before, the intent was for them to have more of a reaction than anything, and potentially set this up for a future proposition for another potential smaller side of these acts or laws to be passed in small parts. Not as a whole directly like this, but maybe, again, controlling VPNs a little bit better, controlling certain websites, maybe age verification getting stronger at this point, whatever the acts may be.
What did that look like?
Across social media, you saw users instantly calling it things like Draconian, Orwellian. There were widespread calls to action, contact your representatives, hashtags, like hashtag stop censorship took off almost immediately.
And activist groups?
Yeah, LGBTQ plus organizations, digital rights groups, even content creators started mobilizing very quickly, putting out alerts, organizing email campaigns, really turning this proposal into a significant flashpoint for free speech and digital rights debates.
Okay, so let's zoom out. High stakes here. What are the big picture implications, if hypothetically this somehow passed?
Well, if it passed, and that's a huge if, it would set an incredibly extreme precedent for content regulation in the U.S. It would cause chaos for internet access in Michigan, likely harm the state's tech sector, and you'd see immediate lawsuits that, frankly, the state would almost certainly lose, costing taxpayers a fortune.
And if it's blocked or vetoed, which seems far more likely.
If it's blocked, it basically reinforces the current legal landscape where courts, and often Democratic-led states, push back against these super broad censorship attempts. But the whole episode still highlights this intense pressure point we're at right now regarding online content.
Right. So this deep dive really shows us a state trying something truly radical, attempting to regulate vast areas of personal expression, online morality, but running smack into huge constitutional barriers and practical enforcement problems.
So what I don't get is why someone would even bring this up. I don't mind people bringing this up, but like, why would you do this for a political reason? You're not going to be favored by anyone by this, whether you're a Democrat or Republican. This is a massive attack on the internet as a whole, and it's very damaging to your own reputation for you even to think or have the idea that you could just like do whatever you want and think you can get away with it. Very damaging as a political move and very ballsy. Maybe you're, trying to think that you're Trump and you can get away with these stuff. Well, I'm sorry to tell you, but even Trump hasn't gotten away with all this stuff. I'm so sorry. That's, Trump may be powerful, but he's not God. So stop trying to act and think that you could do what Trump does. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Please hit the like, subscribe, hit the elbow notification, and I'll see you guys next time. And hop on to Sonic's live stream, and I'll go and give you guys the link to Sonic's live stream real quick, because he is live indeed. Let me pull it up real quick, because there we are. Game devs. He's doing game devs. Oh, nice music. So here, go ahead and hop on this live stream. I'll be on there shortly, guys, and bye all. I apologize for like getting pissed off, but like really messed up.